Hi guys, I'm live. How you guys doing? I just wanted to do the Friday Jack episode number two, or uh, I said that on Fridays I'm going to do a little live thing, Jimmie against Christ. So it's going to be my rebuttals about Christianity or Jesus or God or the Bible, but it'll be what I think at the time. It'll be what I feel, and if I have anything positive to say about Jesus, that's liable to be said too. So, as a reference book, because I don't, in case I just in case I need to look anything up or have any reference material, I have the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. This is the Bible I studied with the Jehovah's Witnesses, which I was baptized as a witness in 2009. I think that was the year anyway. Um, so I'm going to use this as a Bible. Yeah, it has the word Jehovah in it and stuff like that regular Bibles don't, and it's worded a little differently. But it's the only Bible I own right now, so I'm going to use this as a reference if I need anything. And I just want to do a little live thing. So about Jesus and the Bible and God and all that. First of all, Jesus said to someone, he said, I will give you no um, explanation except the story of Jonah. For the Jonah was in the fish 3 days, and after that he was spit out back on land. In such similar way, the Son of Man will be in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, and after that he will ascend and all that. Something to that effect. But here's the thing: if Jesus died on Friday, and he were in the grave 3 days, like he said he would be, he'd be in the grave till Saturday night. That would make one day. Sunday night would make 2 days. Monday night would make 3 days. And at the earliest, he could have reappeared on Tuesday if he were really in the grave or hell or whatever, 3 days. Obviously, that's not that. Obviously, that's a non true prophecy. It was a prophecy that was not fulfilled by Jesus. If he was in, if he was crucified Friday night, he only spent Saturday and just a little bit of Sunday. He spent maybe less than 2 days in the grave, a little over a day, if he rose on Sunday morning already. So there's a total blatant lack of fulfillment of prophecy. Either he lied about the prophecy or he failed to fulfill it, that what he meant to fulfill. And that's one thing. Um, Another thing about the Bible, I've heard pastors say that because they use the word let us create man in our image, and they say the word Elohim, which means us, it means many, it means multiple people, meaning multiple people that are creating in our image. But yet I never see them say in the Bible how many there are in that us, or that there's three in that us, or for that matter, I've never seen the word Trinity in the Bible. I can't find the word Trinity anywhere in the Bible. Um, which if you which would validate the idea that there's three in that us, and that was a thing, and much less defining them as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I don't even see the word Trinity in the Bible, much less that what they're called, and all from the fact that Elohim, us, made us. Well, if the Trinity is such an important thing, how come it's never mentioned in Scripture? If it's one of the main doctrines, why is the word left completely out of the Bible? Maybe it's because it was made up by people that didn't write the Bible and don't have the truth. Possible. Um, um, Anything else? I think a couple of things here. Um, there's another thing. The Christians seem to think that you have one chance at salvation, which is this life. In other words, you live. Man is appointed once to die, and then the judgment. You only get one shot at life. This is your first and only last chance, and this determines everything from here on. Well, that seems to be against the idea of reincarnation. They're saying that nobody gets reincarnated. This is your first and last incarnation. But someone asked Jesus, was it because of his sins that he was born blind, or because of um, his father's or sins or something? In other words, did this man do something in a previous life to become born blind in this life? That was the question. Yeah, I forget exactly how it's worded. Was it his sins or that brought him, that led this blindness on him? And Jesus didn't rebuke the person. He didn't say that's nonsense. He just said, no, it was not his sins. Well, if there were no previous lives, nobody would have asked the question, would it have been, was it his previous lives? That would have been an invalid question. And not only that, it would have been rebuked. The question itself would have been rebuked by the answerer, Jesus. So reincarnation must be an option in the Bible, in truth, because of this example. And I mean, how could he be born blind for something he did before if he never existed before? And if he existed before, this is not his first lifetime and may not be his last. He may get other times to work out his salvation in other lifetimes, more like the Buddhists and the Hinduists say, than the Christians that say this is just one and only lifetime. And on top of that, on the same point, someone said, is John the Baptist Elijah? Is he Elijah? Is he Elijah? Well, that question would mean nothing. Would be a total. That question wouldn't be asked, and if it were, would be rebuked if there was no chance that John was the reincarnation. John the Baptist was the reincarnation of Elijah. You can't ask, is John the Baptist Elijah, if it weren't possible. Either you wouldn't ask that, or it'd get rebuked by someone who knows that that's not possible. But yet that's not the answer that was given. It said, in fact, it said, yes, I think it said something like, yes, this was Elijah, or yes, it might be Elijah, but yet someone greater than Elijah is here, i.e. the Son of Man, Jesus Christ. But they don't rebuke the whole question. So if John the Baptist can be Elijah, then John the Baptist must have been able to have lived before he was John the Baptist to even make that question make any sense or be valid or not be rebuked. So obviously, if John the Baptist was Elijah, had lived, meaning he'd lived before he was John the Baptist, he might get other chances to be born after John the Baptist to work out his salvation. In other words, the whole idea that you only have this chance and you're done, you've blown it or made it, is a scare tactic. And worse, it's not true. And worse, the Bible even says it if you just look at what it says and analyze it for yourself. I haven't needed this yet, but it's here in case I need to refer to it. And then just another idea, in Garden of Eden, supposedly when they ate the fruit, they saw that they were naked and they needed leaves to cover themselves up. But note, it wasn't commanded that they do that. Adam and Eve were not commanded to put on clothes by God. God simply offered them clothes to put on because they felt shame and wanted to be covered. And yet so much of Christianity is based on shame of the body, as if that's a noble, pure, holy thing to be ashamed of your body. Well, actually, Adam and Eve were only ashamed of the body after they sinned, which means to not be ashamed of your body would be a more sinless state than being ashamed of your body. And not only that, while we make it so important to wear clothes, God did not command. There's no commandment in the Bible from Eden onward. Men must wear clothes. That's a man thing. And not only that, it's an example of being shamed, which is a consequence of sin, not a consequence of holiness or lack of sin. So I think a person that is free with their body, I wear clothes, but I think a person who's more free with their body is actually closer, according to logic, to being holy than a person that's very shameful of themselves. I think that shows a more sinful state, because it was sin that brought on consciousness of nakedness, and not righteousness itself. When they were righteous, they weren't that way. They didn't feel shamed of their bodies. I'm just talking here. I'm just commenting, anything else for now? About Catholicism, I did a song that I got from Gregorian chant. I called it Gothic 666, and I mentioned the Vicar of Christ. Vicar means a substitute or replacement. Vicariously doing, he lived vicariously through her. He lived by extension, by replacement through her. It means to stand in someone's place. And the Pope, and the head of the Catholic Church is the Pope, as far as I know. And he has a crown, a mitre on his forehead, on his crown. It was like a fish hat or something. And it says Vicarius Filii Dei. It's Latin for Vicar of the Son of God. Vicarius is Vicarius. Filii, that means vicar, replacement. Filii is spelled Filii, which means of the Son. Filii is son. Filii is of the Son. So Filii, Dei is Dei. Deus, Deus is God. Dei, Dei is of God. So vicar of the Son of God. Maybe son is filius, Filius, and not fili, fili, Fili. But I know the filii, Filii, is son of God. The I makes it of, vicar of the Son of God, Dei. No, so it's probably Filius is son, Filii is of the Son, and Deus is God, Deus, and Dei is of God. So vicarious Filii Dei is vicar of the Son of God. What's interesting about that, I'm just noting something interesting. I'm not saying that you have to believe it or what it means, of its importance. Vicarious, if you add up the Roman numerals, let's say all the letters in that Vicarious Filii Dei statement or title that have a Roman numeral, call them the Roman numeral. And if they don't, just make it 0. So V is 5 in Roman numerals. I is 1, that's 6. C is 100, that's 106. The next I is 1, that's 107. The U is same as V, which is 5, so that's 112. Filii is I is 1, that's 113. L is 50, that's 163. I is 2, so that's 164. Dei is D is 500, so that's it was 112 was vicarious. Filii is I is 1, that's 113. L is 50, that's 153. The next I is 1, that's 154. And the next I is another 1, that's 155. Then Dei, D is 6, D is 500, so that's 665. And the last I is 1, that's 666. So if you add up the Roman numerals to Vicarious Filii Dei, you get 666. Is that a coincidence, or does it mean something? Does it mean that the Pope's either the Antichrist or connected to it? Or is it just a wild coincidence? Just nobody knew. I don't know, but it's true. Vicarious Filii is 53. Vicarious is 112. Dei is 501. 53, 112 is 165 plus 501 is 666. So it's possible I might be the Antichrist too, because my birthday is 12666. That hope may not have anything to do with it, and I might be the Antichrist for all I know. Or maybe my birthday means nothing and the Pope's the Antichrist. Who knows? It's just interesting to me to count that number. Anything else while I'm here? And I'm going to end with some good points about Jesus, though. I'm not going to slam him and just leave it at that. I'm going to say some good things about Jesus. I really feel this. A lot of things bad have happened because of Christianity. Look at the Dark Ages. Look at the Inquisitions. Look at the Spanish Inquisition. Look at all this people murdering and torturing other people in the name of Jesus, supposedly on Jesus's side. But did Jesus really do that, though? What did Jesus was not a part of the mainstream religion of his day. He did not go to church. I mean, he did not do what the other religions around him were doing in his day. The Pharisees and the Sadducees were the main people, and Jesus wasn't a part of either one of them. In fact, he said, "You are of your father the devil." And they were the leading religious leaders of his day. So kudos for that. Kudos for standing for what he believed and not just following the crowd of his day. And so many things he thought and did were cool. He would be rebuked, but then would not open his mouth. Like a lamb, he quietly went to the slaughter. He didn't rebuke when he was being rebuked, or open his mouth when he was being rebuked. He said, if anyone asks for your shirt, give him your coat too. So don't even stop there. Give everything. He basically didn't. He basically didn't throw the stone at the woman that committed adultery. He didn't throw it. And in fact, he said, whoever's sinless, go ahead. You have my you have my permission, and nobody was. So it showed that they weren't righteous enough to throw the stone, and Jesus was and didn't. That's cool. I respect that. Jesus walked during his day. In fact, I figured out the math. Jesus walked about as much per day in his 3 years of ministry as I do. He walked up 12 to 13 miles a day, and that's what I walk. I'm not saying it's a comfortable distance to keep walking most of the day without being lazy or overdoing it. I respect walking. I respect that he walked. He didn't own a car. He didn't own a home. He wasn't a wheeler dealer financial dude of his day. He had birds have a place to stay, and he didn't even have a place to lay his head. He didn't even own a home. And yeah, we own homes and put down those that don't. Well, Jesus didn't own one. You're going to put him down too? Well, Jesus was homeless. Is that a problem for you? I'm just saying. I don't know. What do I know? And not only that, Jesus was physically fit. You know how hard it would be to carry that cross up that hill of the Golgotha, hill of the skull. They didn't carry that for him. He had to carry that. That took a lot of strength and stamina. And then when he was on that cross, he could have called 10,000 or legions of angels to save him, and he did not. He didn't. That's badass. That's a badass move. Could I do that? Hanging on that cross, and I could send 1,000. I could have 1,000 angels come and let them know who I am, and I don't do that. That's badass. And not only that, if the story of Jesus is true, then I think he said the most profound words ever uttered by a human when he said to the people that were torturing him to crucify him, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." That's really cool. They were torturing him, and he just said, he didn't even just say, "I forgive you." He used a greater authority to forgive them. In case his forgiveness weren't enough, he said, "Father, let God forgive them," knowing that would work. He didn't just say, "I forgive you." He said, "God, forgive them." That's the highest prayer he could have made, and he did it to those who were torturing him. Anyway, I love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.